Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Tremble, and this is the Executive Pill Podcast. As you know, this show, along with all of our speaking, coaching, and consulting services, are laser focused on helping organizations prepare high performing leaders from all backgrounds to successfully transition to and excel in VP and senior VP level executive level positions. And if you and your organization are serious about developing diverse and highly effective executive leadership teams, then you're in the right place. And two, we encourage you to reach out and visit us at gpsleadership.org or reach out to us at team@gpsleadership.org so we can discuss how we can help you and we can work together to help you and your organization reach its leadership development and culture elevation goals. The Executive Appeal is now one of the top 5% most popular shows in the world. I know it's been such a short time, but such an awesome ride. And this didn't happen by accident. It was you who made this happen, and it will be you who determines the continued success of this show. So please, if you enjoy this content, if you take anything from what our guests share and you just want to engulf it in your life because it brings you and makes you a better person, then do us a favor and please click that like button, click the subscribe, click the share. Be sure to ask questions and share your thoughts in the comment section. Each of these things that may sound small and little to you is a huge deal because the more engagement, the more we're able to share these stories and these advice. Finally, I'm so excited to share that my new book, Relationships That Work: 4 Simple Steps to Building Intentional Connections in Business and in Life, is now available for purchase on Amazon.com. Look, if you're an ambitious leader who aspires to rise to the most senior level executive level positions, look, this book will provide you with a step-by-step process to making your career dreams a reality. Seriously, if you're tired and frustrated because you've done everything you possibly can to gain the influence to position yourself in your next position, but it just hasn't happened yet, you really need to read this book. Click on the link in the description below, purchase your copy of Relationships That Work so that you can learn how to build the powerful networks needed to reach your personal professional goals. Now, with no further ado, let me say today is a good day. See, today we have the awesome, the wonderful, the always cool, the very athletic Dennis DMaggio. Dennis currently serves as Vice President and Chief Learning Officer at Breakthrough Beverage Group, which is a huge player in the beverage alcohol industry, and entered the organization development field in 2002 after serving as the Vice President for Learning and Development at Chamber Sunbelt Group. Yeah, ever heard of that one? And serving in numerous senior level leadership positions throughout the whew, I'm just so excited and just sitting here talking to him throughout healthcare industry. Dennis is a frequent speaker at the SHRM Society for Human Resource Management, a panelist on sales coaching by the corporate executive board, and has been interviewed on subjects connected to organizational learning and empathy in the workplace by T&D. That's TD. Again, if you are in this space, you know this magazine, TD magazine, and the Wall Street Journal. I know you know that one. Dennis is a phenomenal individual, and you're going to have so much fun today. How are you doing, kind sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Really appreciate your time and the invitation to your show. Can't wait to get this conversation going.
Well, if you can't wait, then we might as well just jump in this like double dutch. You have reached the level within your career that a very small percentage of people get to reach. And I say that because, I'll be honest, like as you move up within an organization, we all know that there is fewer and fewer executive leadership positions, period. And so you were able to navigate yourself there. So I'd like to just begin with asking, like, what is the best bit of advice that you've ever received, and who shared that with you, and why was it the best bit of advice?
It's a great question. I would probably have a hard time distilling down to one sentence or one piece of advice. Over the course of my career, I've been very, very fortunate that I have always reported to fantastic managers. And the amount that I've learned from the people that I've reported to over the years really is what kind of formed my own viewpoint of leadership and what it takes to move ahead and serve in an organization. And so I've been fortunate. My career has kind of zigzagged a little bit. I came out of college thinking I was going to be a high school teacher. Wound up working in healthcare management for about 10 years, everything from facilities management to home healthcare. And then when it moved over into the OD world, and as you mentioned, now I'm in the beverage alcohol space. And so my career has been one where I've so often walked into a place where I didn't understand the business. I was either surrounded by people like clinicians when I worked in healthcare, or when I changed from healthcare into the beverage alcohol space, there's almost no overlap in those two businesses. And so the idea of just kind of keep learning, never assume you have the answer, and surrounding yourself with brilliant people to me, that's the key to moving ahead.
See, you and I, we are in alignment on so many things, but I have to say, we go in different directions right here because you just said put yourself around phenomenal people, but aren't those people competition? Shouldn't we like make sure that we are the best in our circle, right? Right?
I mean, I wish I could say this was my expression. It's not. I'm stealing it from somebody. But if you're the best in a circle, you need to find a different circle. You really have got to surround yourself with other people. And it's funny because when we talk about leadership, I will tell you that, and you probably experience this as well. When you see a leader who wants to always be the smartest person in the room, wants to make sure that there's nobody around them that can compete with them, that person is headed for derailment. Because if nobody else is bringing something that you don't already have, then you're not going to go anywhere because you've already got what you have. And that sometimes there's a level of insecurity that goes there where people just want to be the smartest person in the room all the time.
It's interesting. I actually talk about that briefly in my book, Relationships at Work, is there are people who are quote unquote successful, and there are people who don't reach their goals. Let's just say that. But then of those people who reach their quote unquote success goals, there are people who reach those goals and just like flourish there. And then there are people who reach their goals and then tumble and never come back. And it sounds like that is one of those qualities that you're talking about right now is if you reach those levels, if you're a leader and you say, oh my God, okay, I finally made it. Let me make sure I clinch this. I'll never let go of this by making sure that no one around me can compete against me. That's probably not the best way to remain successful.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a common thing that most people who are in any way involved in leadership development understand is that when an individual moves from that individual contributor role into a management role, again, almost every company has this problem that we tend to promote the best individual contributor into a leadership role. And while it's perfectly possible that somebody has the individual contributor skills and the leadership skills, those two things don't overlap. They're not the same thing. So in all likelihood, you have somebody who has spent a career becoming a good individual contributor, and now they need a whole new set of skills. But I would contend that happens everywhere along the line. So if you're a frontline leader, and then you're becoming a point where you are then a leader of leaders, a little bit more similar than individual contributor. Still, from frontline leader to leader of leaders, different skills. And so if you keep applying the skills that you learned at every level to the next one without being open to learning something new, that's when you see the derailment that you talked about. Somebody gets there and they just can't quite make it happen.
You remind me a bit of Marshall Goldsmith. I know you're a follower of him as well. He always talks about, I love how you did this. He talked about, transitioning from feedback, which is generally negative focus, like you did this wrong in the past, to identifying what do you want to be in the future? Where do you want to grow? How do you want, and again, how now would we change your behavior? What skills should you learn to get to that next level, which you would be calling feed forward? And so it sounds like, again, just because, to use his phrase, what got you here won't get you there, right? So you had a particular set of skills and qualities and experiences that did allow you to get to a certain level, but now you're at a new level and you need to be around phenomenal people who can teach you those new skills to flourish in that arena.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and you stole my line because I was going to use the title of the book, and it's a classic book. I recommend anybody who is either looking to climb the ladder or coaching other people who are climbing
Mhm.
that ladder that they get that book. It's a classic. A lot of the rules that he puts in place, Marshall Goldsmith, about what got you here won't get you there, and he talks about when you get to a senior level leader, some of the things that I remember so much from that work is the idea of leaders make a mistake of like always needing to be right. And
Oh
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
and remember, you went through your career being recognized because you were right all the time, and it was great, or at least more than you were wrong, or
Hmm.
more than other people. And now you have to back that up because you don't have to be right all the time. Should listen to other people. The other thing that I think is really important is he talks about how um, leaders derail when they become senior leaders because they have this incessant need to make everything 10% better. That when somebody
Mm.
brings you something, you have this need to tweak it, put your own fingerprints on it, and make it a little bit better. But what Marshall would say is that while you may have made the product 10% better, you demotivated the person who brought it to you by 50% because you changed their work.
Yeah, yeah. So, again, in this, when you say that, it reminds me of my work when I used to be in the federal government. And when I learned, and again, I did exec education there, is that they're actually graded on, the executives are graded on their ability to implement change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that mean? That means that every year they have to implement change, whether it's needed or not. You got to be able to say that you changed something. And so, a
Wow.
lot of leaders intentionally change something which impacts their employees, impacts the workforce, impacts morale, simply because they're being rated on it. So, when we're talking about this, it's also just as important that the metrics that you're rating your leaders on, that you're putting them against, aren't situating them to do something that's probably not in the best interest of the organization.
Yeah. I, I had no idea that that was one of the measurements for senior leaders in the federal government, but I can see a positive and negative. The positive is you keep your workforce very, very change agile. They're used to changing. They never get into this kind of rote way of thinking because something new can come down the pike. The flip side of that is, because I've had the opportunity to work a lot in the change management field, and if your people don't understand the why of something changing, and the
Mhm.
why can't be, hey, I'm being judged on this, so you have to do it for me. But, the why has to be something that makes sense,
Yeah.
and if not, you really won't be able to pull them along.
You know, one thing, as I was kind of doing my research into you and kind of just watching and looking at your career, you have stayed in your locations for a significant period of time.
Yeah,
I think 10 years one place, 7 years another place, maybe 4 years another place. Like, you've spent some time within those organizations. I was at a conference last a few weeks ago now, and what they were talking about was there a new way of engaging staff is to allow staff to move and shift around within the organization. So, just because they're a quote unquote HR manager here or an audit or whatever it may be, doesn't
yeah,
mean they have to stay in that pipeline. They can go somewhere else, right? Lateral, so on and so forth, and moving people around. And then they also brought up the idea of, hey, why don't we just have a more dynamic workforce where people can move in and outside of the organization? We promote, as long as we're growing those people. If they leave and they get something great, then great. Um, and I think this the CFPB, this one of the federal agencies, was actually created using that style, saying that, look, we know we cannot compare to the pay that people are going to get on Wall Street. We know this. So what
sure,
we're going to do is we're going to be very intentional about building a workforce of younger people, providing them with the skills, the opportunities, the learning, knowing they're going to leave. So when they go into industry, they'll hopefully do what's right, right? And
yeah,
then one day maybe they'll come back, or they'll talk about how great the organization was to their young peers they're mentoring, and they'll come work for them. I say it to say it's an interesting idea, and I actually like the concept. However, because a lot of the work I do is in helping organizations increase their retention because they don't want people going out, um, how does those two things match? I'd love to hear your ideas on it, especially because there is a significant cost to employees leaving, right?
Yeah.
Like there's
No, you're absolutely right. First of all, I have to admire you. I can't think of anything more boring than trying to research me. So I appreciate that you put in that work. So yeah, everything you said is absolutely right. And I have read some very interesting studies of companies that are looking to do that. When somebody, the second thing that you talked about, which is when people leave, how do you create an environment where there's almost an alumni club
Yeah.
of that organization, where we stay high touch with people. I've been very fortunate. We've had people who've left at my organization, and through, nowadays through LinkedIn, you stay connected to them forever. And I try to make it a point of trying to reach out, connect to some people if I think there might be some interest for them to come back at some point.
That's
And so
cool.
that way you kind of keep that network going. I think that what you just described is probably going to be something that the best companies do in the next couple of years, which is, maybe you have an alumni club on LinkedIn
Mm,
where you stay kind of high touch to the organization. I will say that in my career, I've seen people who have left the company, both the one I'm in now and the one that I started with. They've left the company for a couple of years, and then they've come back.
mhm.
And I tell you what, you learn more in the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
year on a new job than you learn 5 years in your current job. There's just so you hit with so much stuff that you
Mhm.
need to learn. So that person comes back with so much knowledge. And I think there was a time when companies kind of felt like it was a betrayal if you left, and once you left, you weren't allowed to come back. That's so 1980, because you can't do that. You have to be open to people coming back.
Well, first, you and me, Dennis, need to figure out how to make this alumni thing so we can work with organizations doing that. That's really cool, and just the intentionality behind it as well. At two, I'd love to hear your ideas on. Sorry, I'm going to stay on this topic for a second.
Yeah, sure.
There's also a lot of research out there that shows that employees can actually get better compensation in regards to dollars by leaving and moving around than they
Mm.
can normally by sitting within the organization. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on, what is that? What's your reaction to understand that people can get, generally speaking, can get compensated more by moving, but organizations don't want, hope shouldn't want all their employees leaving, because if you find someone who's the right fit for your organization, maybe the opportunity's not here right now, but we know we got something lined up for you the next few years. Like, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, so you're definitely outside my area of expertise when it comes to the comp side of that of how do you as an organization match that. So I'll probably put that aside because it's just not
Yeah.
my area of expertise. But I will tell you that um, while some people will leave for comp, they'll also leave for the new challenge and the change of pace. And we get as um, when you've been doing the same job for a long time, especially if you're at that point in your career where you're wanting to accumulate experiences and you're wanting to accumulate knowledge, then if you're in that same role for 10 years, I
Mm,
understand people going, even if I do the same job over there in that company, I'm learning something new. And they're right. So how do we replicate that learning and development experience for people in their current roles?
yeah,
I was
yeah.
having a conversation with my manager the other day, and she was talking about how this next generation of young people who are coming into the organizations, they're used to in college, they're used to, it's my freshman year and then my sophomore year, and I just have a freshman and sophomore, my daughter, so I understand the difference in those 2 years. And then your junior year is different. Every year is kind of like I live in a new place, I've met some new people, I have
Oh,
classes, and so they're coming out with that experience of, yeah, I was in the same place,
yeah,
but I wasn't the same person year to year, and I got
yeah.
different experiences year to year. I don't think I don't think organizations have figured that out yet, but I think there's some magic in there. I think there's some way of trying to figure out, how do we give people, their
Yeah.
freshman year in a company and their sophomore year in a company, and then move them someplace else so that their junior year in a company is different from that. I think that's going to be some secret sauce. The organizations that figure that out, that I haven't.
Yeah.
If a person can feel like I haven't moved, but I've grown, I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
a big.
Dude, that's really cool. I love that concept. Right? So again, another thing you and I have to write a book about. So you're only making homework for yourself right now. So
I know.
stop sharing great ideas. Um, so again, especially because of your background in learning and development, I'd love to throw an idea by you. So I was speaking to a chief human capital officer of a Fortune 100 company the other day, and he was explaining to me that one of the biggest challenges they're seeing right now is as they're as people are leaving, as the older workforce is leaving, they're now having to move younger, quote unquote, less experienced people into those leadership positions, and they're always kind of caught off guard with just how difficult organizational politics are. Just the number of, you're now sitting at a table with people who are extremely successful in what they do and really good at what they do and generally very confident at what they do. And how do you navigate all of those different relationships where someone could be definitely on your side and someone could be definitely acting like they're on your side? So like, I'd love to know, because I have a way, a process of teaching leaders how to do that. But I'd love to hear from your perspective, like how do companies do a good job of preparing people to navigate those political waters? And what are your ideas around it?
Yeah. The short answer to your question is probably no, that I don't think that most companies do a great job with that. I don't think companies have ever done a great job with that. I think it comes more to the fore now because there's so much with, especially with remote work and so many different generations working in the organization. And also, as you and I were talking about earlier, as people are transitioning in and out of roles or in and out of companies, there was a time when if you moved into a management role, you were probably a 10-year employee of that company already. And so
Yeah,
maybe you already understood the political side of things. Maybe you already had a good relationship with your boss and a good relationship with some other senior people. So you got glimpses of that.
yeah,
Now I think somebody comes into a new company, they've only been there for a couple of years, and then they're starting to move up. It's possible that that political piece that you're talking about is even more of a challenge. But I think the solution to it is the solution to every problem is just people. And what I mean by that is, those people who are, you talked about it earlier about they're leaving the organization. Those people who are, maybe they're at the max point in their career.
mhm,
Either from a 10-year perspective, they're expecting to retire soon, or from a ambition perspective, they've gotten as high as they really want to go, or even a potential perspective, they're as high as they're going to go. That when you're in that particular situation, those people make the best mentors in the world to people. And so if
yes,
you can get that energy from them and say, I mean, look, everybody, I'll let you in on a little secret, Alex. Everybody in the world's favorite topic is themselves.
yep,
It really is. And so, and that's I don't mean that as a bad thing.
hmm
It's you want to plug into that. I have never met a retired leader or retiring leader who 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 doesn't want to leave a legacy, doesn't
hmm
want to leave people that they've impacted. Over the course of my career, there are people who are retired now, and they can say they can talk about how they invested in me and what they did for me. I hope that there are people behind me or beside me or even some people in front of me where I've had an impact on.
yeah,
And quite honestly, that means more to me than anything. And I think it's true for those people. Is there a way of pulling in that experience,
yeah.
that person who navigated the politics, and if they're playing the back nine on their career, they don't really care about the politics anymore, and that's the best person to learn from because they're not impacted by it.
I was because I run and create mentoring programs for organizations, and one organization was very interesting because they were saying how they were contemplating. I don't think they've done it yet because we are started working on some other initiatives, but they were talking about the idea of identifying those individuals who are on the back end of their career and
Mm.
saying, hey, look, we know you don't want to work 40 hours a week. Like we got that. You're coming to a close. We got it. We respect it. Thank you. But how about you work, 30 hours a week and dedicate 10 hours towards mentoring, right? And it's because that allows them to still grow the other leaders in the organization. They have that value that they have that value, that knowledge, the experience. I think that's a really interesting concept that organizations should be thinking about, is especially for those people who are getting ready to exit stage left. How can we say, let's can we utilize you to build other leaders before you leave? But again, I understand it's also a capacity thing. I realize this.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I'd love to talk to you more about that. About if anybody's able to figure out a way to make that work. There's obviously there's a monetary issue to that.
Hmm.
Because most organizations are running lean, and
Hmm.
so but I do think if you can get that right, just in the situation that you described there, that person, if they're able to continue to deliver some of the work, and maybe the things that they're not able to do now because they're able to put 10% of their work on somebody else, maybe that space is held for that high potential person who you can start giving them some more experiences. It's a fascinating idea. And I think that a lot of organizations will get lost in the details of it, and so easy for a situation like that to go, oh, we can't afford it, we're not going to do it. But I think the best organizations will, all right, but what if we could? What would it look like if we could do it?
And I love that yes, you're absolutely right. It's so easy to get lost in the sauce. And I think about, what about like a year-long program, right? A year-long program, you may send someone to let's say even weekly coaching. You may spend an hour with some coaching, or hour doing something every week. Um, I mean, even if it was just an hour a week, right? Okay,
Yeah,
instead of you at a program, your program is mentoring this person, right? Like, so again, it's always about how can we figure this out versus we can't do this. Because soon
yeah,
as you start with like, oh, we can't do this, your brain shuts off and your creativity goes away.
yeah, yeah.
I,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, so I wanted to, I know we're about to wrap up. I know we're about to wrap up. No. Because you said you gotta jump on the phone with Cook, Apple CEO. That's what you said. Okay, look, we're gonna move fast. We're gonna move fast. So my question, two questions I want to throw by you real quick is, many people who listen to this show are still stuck on how do you navigate relationships, but not
Mhm.
just any relationships. It's easy to navigate a relationship with someone you like, but more so, how do you navigate? How do you build an intentional and meaningful connection with someone who you don't like, or someone who doesn't like you? And I love to hear your thoughts on that, because the reality is that if you're moving up, at some point there's going to be someone you don't like or someone who doesn't like you, but you're still going to have to get work done.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. Um, I, a lot of relationships, especially at work, is all about trying to understand kind of the motivation behind why people do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Outside of the office, one of the things that one of my hobbies, one of the things I do is I work with an organization called Braver Angels that pulls together people from the left and the right politically, and have discussions about why do they believe what they believe. And it's all about trying to figure out, all right, what's underneath your belief, what's underneath your thought process. And there's the deeper you go, the more commonality you find with people. And so if there's something that somebody's doing
Mm-hmm.
that you don't like, try to figure out, well, why are they doing it? One of the unique things about human beings is that we tend to judge everybody else by their actions, and we judge ourselves by our intentions. And so, trying to figure out what might be the good intentions.
Yeah.
There's the expression, lead with positive intent. But try to figure out why might they be doing this. If it turns out that it's just somebody you're never going to gel with, that's life.
Yeah.
And you can still work in commonality towards the business goal with somebody. You don't have to be buddies with them.
Mm-hmm. There's different levels of relationships, right? You don't got to be besties.
That's right. That's right.
And I love what you talked about in regards to intentions. And I'll just be out there. I'm gonna put this out there for everyone here. Look, you all know I'm not perfect. I'm pretty close, but I'm not perfect. What's called? So I will tell you, like every single time in my life where I've been in a position where I felt someone was coming after me, and I generally am always like positive, positive, positive. But a few times I'm like, man, this person, they're really coming after me. They're trying to make me look bad. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. And then I respond in a way that is defensive, or unfortunately, I hate to say this. Sometimes I attack back. Hey,
Mm,
why didn't you do this? You didn't say that. And then only to come to find out that that was not their intention. I'm like, God darn it.
yeah,
Slow down and
yeah.
focus on finding out intention before you react.
Uh, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant advice, Alex. And I haven't seen any of the imperfections yet, but I'll take your word for it. I think, but um,
I love this guy.
yeah, but no, but you're absolutely right, because it's funny you say this. I just saw somebody post about this on LinkedIn this morning. Somebody said, most people, everybody's living a story in their own head that has nothing to do with you. And
Mm,
so when you see somebody's action, and again, because we said earlier, everyone is the star of their own show, you just assume that they did something to get you, or you did something and they were just showing callous disregard for you. The reality of it is, and I don't know if this is good or bad, the reality of it is they probably didn't think of you one iota, when they make that decision. And that can be very freeing to know that this person had no malice.
yeah.
They were operating in their own head, in their own world about what was happening. So
Hmm.
I think that's great. And it's funny because if I won't use any names because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but some of the people that over the course of my career who at the very beginning, we did not have a good relationship, are some of the best friends I have right now. When you
Yeah.
just, when you take that time to figure out what was behind what they do,
Hmm.
99 out of 100 times, most people are good. Most people want the right thing. You will occasionally find somebody who's, they're motivated by malice, but it's rare.
I know there's a quote, but I can't remember it. But basically, you find what you're looking for. If you think everyone is horrible and out there trying to get you, that's what you're going to see.
That's right.
But if you think that everyone is generally good and doing their best to live a very difficult life, that we all
Yeah.
have to live,
Yeah.
um, then that's what you'll find. And
Yeah.
so I know we have to start wrapping up, but did you want to pitch that new book you have coming out? I'm joking. I'm joking. Do you have any final thoughts or ideas that you like to share with with our audience?
Yeah. No, I'm a book reader, not a book writer. Um, the only thing I would tell people is, as your audience are people who are, looking to grow, looking to become good leaders. One thing that I've spent the last 15, 16 years really investing in is using different types of assessments to really understand yourself. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of very valid assessments, everything from Clifton Strengths to Hogan to there's a lot of great things, a lot of great tools out there. I really encourage people to spend some time understanding themselves,
Hmm.
because the better you understand yourself through something like understanding what my strengths are, understanding how I react to change, understanding my personality traits, you can't help but the more you understand yourself, you start to really see these things in other people. And so that's self-awareness is at a really is a really low ebb in society now, but it's always been at a low ebb. People tend not to really spend time understanding themselves. I would really encourage everybody to, if you can find somebody who can coach you, and if you can use some of these assessments, it's a great way of understanding your own motivations and kind of what sparks you.
Dennis, I could not be in more agreement with you, especially because you said find someone like Alex to coach you. I appreciate it. What's called? Yeah, I unplugged that. What's called?
Smooth, man. Smooth.
Oh, goodness gracious. Hey, look, everyone. Well, first of all, Dennis, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I really, really appreciate your time. I knew you had to step away from the baseball field to hang out with us today, but I really, really just thank you for everything you shared. And the next person or people I want to thank is the audience, because again, we've been going at this for now 3 years. Um, Most podcasts don't last past 12 episodes. And now we're at, oh my God, we just broke 100. Yeah, we just broke 100. So
Right.
what's going on? This is really cool. So everyone who's here listening, just thank you for investing in yourself. You know, I promise you, there's so many different things on YouTube that you could be watching right now. You could be doing fist pumps with the Jersey Shore. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but you get the point. But you're here growing and learning for yourself and to help you and your team members. So this thank you. And you know where I'm about to go with this. Don't just look back, reach back. If you found anything of value in today's conversation, don't keep it to yourself. Don't say that person should have been here. Oh, too bad for them. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal. Bring this information to them. Reach back and bring them to the table, right? Again, click, share, like, comment. All of these things help share the message that you just felt yourself was of value. So don't keep it to yourself. Be sure to always share it out to everyone else. And again, if you're looking to grow, if you're looking for a really great book to take your career to the next level, you really need to read Relationships That Work. You can find the information on in the description. You can find it on Amazon. I just thank you for being here with us on this journey. As always, I encourage you to stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.